Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday's Market Outlook here at Top Gun Options. Matthew Buckley, call sign Wiz, and the day is finally here. Can you believe it? The trailer for Top Gun 2, or actually whatever it's called, Top Gun Maverick is out. You can see it on the Top Gun Options Facebook page. Here's my comment. A shit-hot naval aviator Top Gun graduate who didn't promote but stayed in the cockpit and flew his ass off. I might know a guy like that with a better call sign. Anyway, go check out the trailer. It actually looks pretty good. I know a couple of my buddies actually flew the cast and did some of the air-to-air shots, and those guys said, "Man, Wiz, wait till you see these air-to-air shots. They're spectacular." So looking forward to that. Going to be a good time. In other Trump news, moving on, obviously, because this is the only news that's out there apparently. I love this, man. The fact that he said that, first of all, the presidential debates, the Commission for Presidential Debates, during the last election, it was a disgrace. Like remember the CNBC debate with the Manny Mo and Jack moderators? It was a disgrace. All of the debates, there wasn't like one neutral moderator in any of these debates. And Trump's like, you know what? I don't even think I'm going to do that. He's implying that he's going to do something else. He's like, I look very much forward to debating whoever the lucky person is who stumbles across the finish line in the little watch do nothing Democrat debates. My record is so good on the economy and all else, including debating, that perhaps I would consider more than 3 debates. The problem is that the so-called Commission on Presidential Debates is stacked, he's right, with Trump haters and never Trumpers. 3 years ago, they were forced to publicly apologize for modulating my microphone in the first debate against crooked Hillary as the president. The debates are up to me, and there are many options, including doing them directly and avoiding the nasty politics of this very biased commission. This guy's awesome. I will make a decision at an appropriate time, but in the meantime, the Commission on Presidential Debates is not authorized to speak for me or Republicans. This guy, he's a boss. Love or hate him, he does what he says he's going to do, which I think is why the deep state's so pissed off. I mean, the guy ran on saying I'm going to do these things, and he's doing them. Well, over the weekend, we got another nuke or another test out of this missile site in North Korea, and as you guys know, that they've warned to give us a Christmas present, right? U.S. seeks Christmas peace with North Korea as the deadline looms. So, here we are with the Dow up, 170, 180 points, S&P's up a good 25 or whatever it is. So as I said last week, with this trade deal, we're probably going to get a resumption in the Santa Claus rally. Actually, we'll call it the Trump rally now. You have to be extremely careful here. There are potential black swan events out there. One of them is North Korea, and the other one is Iran. A senior State Department official said a couple days ago that the attack, the Aramco attack in the oil fields, was an act of war. So because of the Iran nuke deal, we've been accumulating risk of a regional conflict. And he said what Iran did to Saudi Arabia was an act of war. So, and they've been launching bottle rockets at our forces based in Iraq. And I've predicted this, folks. I don't want to be right with this one, but I'm going to be. That Iran is going to attack U.S. installations and U.S. troops in the immediate future. You can try and pin me down with immediate future, but let's just say that when we're heads down celebrating Christmas or New Year's and just trying to celebrate being American and loving life here is usually when something bad they try and mess with us. But why am I rambling about this? Because look at the volatility index. Look at our barometer, our altimeter. What did I tell you is going to happen? I said we are going to freak out. We did. I said VIX would stay elevated. And then what did I say last week? Even last Thursday after the close, I did a free brief for folks. I said we absolutely have to get long volatility. Have to. Because we got a January market implosion coming, if not before then. And then I said, do not place that. This was Thursday. I said, don't place it Friday. I said, wait until maybe Monday. And we'll talk about this at 1 o'clock in our weekly options brief. Look at this. We are back to where, we're below 12 on the VIX, folks. You have to be stupid not to get long volatility here, right? As the market's going up here, the VIX is going down a little. I might wait a day or two because we might get a little bit of a, maybe a week or two of low volatility, but I might not wait a week or two because we got this stuff hanging out there. We get a ballistic missile shot at Japan, over Japan, and that might be a little bit of an excuse to sell off here. So, all right, let's get to the trade deal here. I got to be honest with you, it's murky at best. The key, I get that on Friday, the Chinese announced, we announced, and yay, trade deal. And Trump's already, hey, they're already so motivated, we're moving on to phase one. Hey, man, not so fast. A lot of the key details are completely gray. Lighthizer been running around to a lot of microphones trying to clear up. He's kind of like the guy at the circus walking behind the elephant, man, in the white suit and the shovel with the garbage can behind Trump. They're buying $50 billion a year in ag purchases. Huge win for our farmers. Lighthizer had to clean that up real quick and say they're buying about $16 billion in ag products in each of the next 2 years, folks. That's, and as I pointed out last week, China threw the capitalism card in our face. They're like, hold on a second, guys. Why would we buy soybeans from you when we can buy them down in Brazil for a fraction of the price? Aren't you guys like capitalists in this America place? Well, we're going to practice capitalism. Why would we pay up to buy soybeans from you when we can buy them from Brazil? The plot thickens. Folks, I think it was in 2013. That was the year that China did the most ag buys that they've done ever. And it was like, what was it, 23 billion? So essentially, the president is saying that they're going to, where is it? Well, this goes back to 2014. Yeah, so that 2013, 2014-ish is what I'm going to say, was the last time they did such a big ag buy. Yeah, there you go, right around just north of $20 billion. So anybody see a trend here? And you expect China just to turn on a dime and start buying soybeans from us? I am not a believer in that. I am not a believer in this. I'm not a believer in the trade. Well, folks, you really have to be an idiot to believe that China is going to stop stealing from us our intellectual property, the forced transfer technology. And you got to be an idiot to think that China is going to stop subsidizing their businesses, right? They gave us grief. They're like, how dare you tell us to stop subsidizing our companies? Didn't you do like bail out all your financial companies? Don't you like bail out Boeing and General Motors and your car? I'm like, ooh. Man, they're pretty damn good. They read the art of the deal. So I get that we're going up here, and China's economy is at least showing a little bit better. We got a little bit better factory production and consumer spending in China. That's good. But as we know, we don't believe a word of what China says about their economy, man. When you can dictate economic numbers at the end of a bayonet, they're usually pretty good. And when they're bad, it means they're a hell of a lot worse than they're letting on. So anyway, you got to remember, as a fighter pilot, as an options trader, I got one hand on the ejection handle and one hand on, or one eye on the exit in the movie theater, folks. Whenever I see headlines like this and I see a VIX low, easing worries push investors out of safe havens and drive stocks to new highs. This is one of those headlines, folks. Remember a couple months ago what did I say? Right here, it was like, there's no volatility in this market. I said, folks, we absolutely it is now the time to get long volatility. It went up 56% since that day. I said, we're done. This is the last moment. I've been long volatility throughout here because I knew this was going to happen, but we timed it perfectly. Whenever you start seeing the headlines that say, hey, vol's low, everything's great, investors are flocking out of their, they're taking their ejection seats out of their portfolios, that's when you put yours in and you double up. Goldman. The biggest worry for them in 2020, and I agree with them, stock buybacks. This is the largest decline of stock buybacks since 2011. Remember, folks, one of the reasons this market is so high up here, aside from the Federal Reserve not doing QE, but doing QE, are stock buybacks. The number one buyer of the S&P 500 for the past 2 years has been who? You know what I'm about to say, the S&P 500. So when Apple and these companies buy back, what did Apple do? Apple's could loan money to God, right? They took a lot of that money, or some of it, a portion of it, and bought back a ton of their shares. What's that do? That artificially inflates EPS, earnings per share, and the stock price goes up. So if I was the CEO of a publicly traded company and I get a bonus based on how the stock's performing, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to order the buyback of our shares. But also, guess what? If you haven't done that yet, are you going to be a CEO that buys back your shares at record highs? Of course not, because we got a market pullback coming in January or February. And that's you're going to look foolish if you end up buying back your shares. So Goldman's right. The easing, the stopping of share buybacks is a little bit of a canary in the coal mine. And as we discussed a month ago, insiders are selling at record pace, meaning CEOs, VPs, presidents, board members are bailing out of their own company stocks. That should tell you something. Yeah, it's obviously year-end profit taking and all that type of stuff. But when insiders stop buying, when companies stop buying back their shares, it sounds like we're playing musical chairs. And when the music stops, you want to make sure you have a chair. Okay. All right. I'm looking to leg into an iron condor on EWZ this week. I'm already filled on the bear call spread that I sent out via text and email. And then make sure you log in early to the weekly options brief because I'm looking to put on a bull put spread. I think EWZ is going to stay elevated this week to 45, 44 and a half. Let's take a look at the chart of the EWZ. This trade deal, I got this wrong last week. I had a losing trade last week because it popped on the trade deal and stayed elevated. I think a trade deal, the reason it's staying elevated is because it's still murky, right? I think a trade deal with China and the U.S., if they are going to stop buying stuff from Brazil, this is going to go down, right? A good trade deal for America is bad for Brazil. We know this, right? We saw last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, with the president at the NATO conference right here, woke up and blasted Brazil and Argentina with steel and aluminum tariffs, right? Why? Because they've been in bed with the Chinese. Bolsonaro had to say, "Hey, man, I'm going to give my buddy Trump a call. I don't think he's going to do this. Well, he gave the president a call and he said, "Dude, big trade deal with China coming, and it's not going to be good for your farmers." So that's why I'm bearish on EWZ, but it ain't. It's hovering, right? It's hovering. So why don't we, if we think it's going to remain range bound, look at this. Good run in EWZ and it's going to hover. Good run in EWZ and it hovered and then let down. So iron condor on EWZ, log in early to make sure you see the trades at least 15 minutes early. All right, I got to get going. Got to get ready for the weekly options brief at 1 o'clock. And then we have Solo Amazon, our newest, hottest service at 1 o'clock, at 3 o'clock today. And we're going to talk about what Amazon's doing, which is just kind of hanging right around this 50-day moving average. All right, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and I'll see many of you for Tuesday's market sit rep tomorrow. God bless.